Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanshan.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are fortunate to have His great Gopinath Prabhu, and Prabhu will narrate the Untitled Chapter. Over to you, Prabhuji. So whatever is left out in the last week, we'll be continuing this week. Yes, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Om
Prabhuji.
Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamagyam Tatati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadodam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataru Besha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate krim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dinadarinam Pramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hari Om Namo Vishnu Padaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It's been always pleasure to hear Srila Prabhupada. As I mentioned last time, so much enthusiasm to keep our Krishna consciousness. Hearing Srila Prabhupada Katha anytime. Thank you so much for the organizers who have given me the opportunity. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you are able to see my screen, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see.
Okay. Chapter 53 entitled Krishna's Great Soldier, and this is happening between September month. So Prabhupada went to London, then he came back to Bombay because he was really want to complete this project, Bombay project, before, Prabhupada was not well. So he was thinking, to complete this project. And the same year, Prabhupada also passed away. So this is a very, very important lesson, one sense for devotees, coming from, starting from now, what we are going to talk about, the Bombay chapter, then the next chapter, and the next chapter, the final instruction of Srila Prabhupada, how the Prabhupada passing away. It's extremely important because how Acharya is showing, we can test the final exam. So these dealings, there are a lot of lessons can be learned. As I read through, probably we can discuss, we can churn. Please make a note of those points coming to your mind. This is relatively going to be a 20-25 minutes discussion. After that, I'll open up for 10 minutes for discussion, so you can note down some of the dealings, how practically we can apply in our life. Because the final test, so everything what are we are doing it for the final test. Unless we don't pass on the final test, there is no use. But Acharya here going to show us next 2-3 chapters beautifully how Srila Prabhupada is about how to one should prepare his consciousness before passing away. So we have seen a quick recap. August 28, 1977, he stayed in Manor. Then he visited September 6th, Janmashtami, 1977, Radha Landaneshwar. This is the last time Prabhupada visited Europe. He simply he wanted to be with the devotees. He didn't do any lecture. There was ecstatic kirtan, people trying to distribute more books so that Prabhupada can stay. But after some day, September 13th, Prabhupada said, I'm feeling restless. I want to go to Bombay. And actually before that, he had a lot of plans to go to America and he was preparing. He canceled all the tickets. Then September 14th, he traveled to Bombay. So our discussion will start from here. Okay, so we are in Bombay. So this was September 14th. Srila Prabhupada flew to Bombay. There was not much hassle to Prabhupada to reach Juhu ISKCON. And that time Prabhupada was staying in the 5th floor of Juhu land, and there was elevator. Prabhupada just straight away went and took rest. In the midnight, he called His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj and to the bed, and both of them were discussing. There is one of the important person who lives in Vrindavan, Mr. Somaya. He is known to both Srila Prabhupada and Maharaj, so they were discussing about him. And His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, seeing Prabhupada broken out into tears, he was crying. Then how Prabhupada was describing His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, his stay in England was very blissful, especially the kirtans. And immediately Giriraj Maharaj asked, Prabhupada, there is sizzling and hammering here in the temple construction going on. Is it a concern for you? Prabhupada said, no, it's like a music. See, Acharya, it is whether it is a comfortable manner. We have seen the entire house, how his manor was there, palace. And he came from the it's very, very peaceful. The manor is Bhaktivedanta, the manor ISKCON is still now also, if you go, it's outskirts and very peaceful, big garden and very pleasant place. There is no disturbance. But he came to extremely opposite, where Bombay, the temple construction is going on, busy city, hammering happening, Juhu beach, extremely crowded, noisy. But Prabhupada enjoyed those kirtan with the peaceful atmosphere, and he also says that the sizzling of the temple is also kirtan, or it's a music. The Acharya for him, oh, this is Krishna's work getting done. So this noise is like, he says, is like music. And he said, I'm really happy to hear this noise because there is temple progressing. As the one sizzling happened, the temple construction is progressing, because this is one of the most dearest project of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada Acharya can see both kirtan as well as the sizzling of the temple construction, both as a kirtan. So Prabhupada awoke end of the day. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj also came and asked a similar question, are you bothered by this noise? Prabhupada said, no, I'm really happy because the work is being completed. When I was in London, even though it's peaceful atmosphere, I was feeling restless. But as soon as I landed in Bombay, I feel like I'm comfortable. And he said, I like Bombay. Of all the cities in India, I like it the most. This is Prabhupada's words. He liked Bombay. So he's like 3 places, Vrindavan, Mayapur and Bombay. This is his office place. Worshipable his resident is in Vrindavan, and his worshipable place is Mayapur, and Bombay is his office. So Prabhupada used to always tell these 3 people very fond of these 3 places. And Prabhupada mentioned to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and he started doing other activities. Then he called other GBC members to come and report, all the sannyasi disciples of the GBC member, what is the progress on Krishna consciousness. So then Gargamuni came. Then he was talking about selling of Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita set, all Indian universities and especially the libraries and things like that, and how they were preparing go to Muslim countries to sell the books. And Prabhupada's made a very bold statement. It is amazing. Now also in Pakistan and other remote places, recently Bengal, Bangladesh. So we have seen that people are taking a risk in their life and preaching. So Prabhupada said, whoever preaches in the Muslim countries said, this is amazing, this statement I never seen. Srila Prabhupada, I take the dust of his feet on my head. Imagine the preacher who want Gargamuni Prabhu want to preach, then how you would have been excited about Prabhupada taking dust of the devotees who are trying to preach. Means guaranteed to go back to Godhead. So taking risk for Krishna is guaranteed to go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada was just encouraging everyone to preach. So this was the report he was receiving. Then next is Holiness Lokanath Maharaj gives a report. He was talking about how successful he was in preaching in the villages, Bulla cart. Now also we know that Padayatra, that Bulla cart, famous Bulla cart came to our temple. The same program was continuing since Prabhupada time, and he gave the reported about it. And Srila Prabhupada really loved this Bulla cart, and he wanted to do this actually Vrindavan Parikrama before he dies. And today most of the topics will be around Prabhupada, whether should stay in Bombay or he should go to Vrindavan. So that's a beautiful exchange. We will dedicate after 2-3 slides. I will dedicate that conversation to a lot of lessons to learn. So this was happened, and so as soon as Prabhupada returned from England, he stopped taking all this English medicines because he was consulted in England, and the doctor in England was telling how Srila Prabhupada was a very, very difficult patient and is not cooperative at all. Then His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was telling to the doctor, no, Srila Prabhupada is trying to cooperate. But the doctor told, he is just cooperating because he just want to wait till Friday and he want to flew to India. That's why he was trying to accommodate, but otherwise I don't think so. He's a difficult patient. And Prabhupada laughed at it and said, yes, I was super, super compromise he uses. He says, he thought he will wait till Tuesday, he extended, Thursday, so that he can take some blood test. As soon as Prabhupada sensed he's going to take blood and things like that, he just changed his schedule. Tuesday only flew to India. So Prabhupada was laughing because Prabhupada hate really going to the hospital, the allopathic way of medicine. Prabhupada never liked it. And Prabhupada's health was really, really weak. And they started supplementing, food supplement using Complan. And Prabhupada ate for a few days and he said, what is the use of this artificial food? And he started talking the mentality of the Western bodies, that you people like to eat canned foods, frozen, preserved and rotten food, and you will eat leftovers after 7 months, and you drink cold milk. And Prabhupada always insisting this one lesson we can learn, that milk should be drank hot milk, it goes to the brain, and Prabhupada hates drinking a cold milk. So the Complan, he said, is not a fresh food. So most of us, we use a lot of supplements. I'm not commenting anything, but this is Prabhupada's mood. The Complan is not fresh. So I'll try to live on milk and fruit juice, nothing artificial. So Prabhupada just made this statement. And so the plan was Prabhupada to stay in Jugu temple till it opens. It was scheduled for Rama Vijayadashmi, exactly 5 weeks from now. So, and he was, even though he complained about the Complan and things like that, his health was really deteriorating. And he just lived only on the fruits. He can't digest the hard food. So he was only on the liquids, a little fruit juice, and he would take little bit of moong jala, which is the moong bean is soaked in the overnight, and the water, whatever it is there, moong bean is soaked for a few hours, and he drinks that moong jala water. These are the two treatments Prabhupada was taking. And So Prabhupada was taking nothing artificial. Okay, let us. Okay. So now Prabhupada is, from here onwards, we can see a lot of instruction how Prabhupada is preparing his mood. As soon as he knows that his health is deteriorating, first thing he asked is japa beads, and he wore that always around his neck. He insisted that it should be never removed. So Prabhupada first started taking his japa beads, putting around his neck. He was constantly chanting. Even when he was getting massaged, Prabhupada never stopped chanting, and he was from continuously. Of course, Prabhupada always are meditating and chanting, but he was more extra care when he was not well, and he ensured that the beads are always with him, so that he will, whenever there is a time, he would chant. Then His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj and came and asked, "How is your health?" And Prabhupada said simply, "Crisis. I'm struggling with the this body." So like that, he was telling, and His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, "Prabhupada, um, uh, Prabhupada named certain Bombay doctor. He said, why don't you bring him?" And His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj started arguing, why Prabhupada, now this is another doctor. You're not, you don't want this English medicine and things like that. Why do you want another doctor? And, Prabhupada said, okay. Then, so Prabhupada has decided, changed his mind. Initially, his plan was that he would stay in Bombay 5 weeks, complete the temple opening, then go to Vrindavan. But Prabhupada said, 5 weeks, what do I do? Let me go to Vrindavan and come back. And Prabhupada proposed this, that he wants to go to Vrindavan and come back. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, you would live, definitely. I feel confident that you will live for the temple opening. Then you will go and retire in Vrindavan. And that's what the expression Prabhupada expressed. So then Prabhupada see the humility, how Srila Prabhupada is replying, may your words be blessed. Bless me that I may fix up my mind. And Prabhupada is like, even though they are disciple, they are not at that level of Prabhupada, but still Prabhupada said, may your words blessed. And Prabhupada is showing here, one thing is that the love is Prabhupada showing is dependency. Later we'll see more details, how Prabhupada allowed them to discuss whether he should fight and stay and preach the mission, or should leave, should I leave it to Krishna. So all these things, people, Prabhupada personally teaching them. He was allowing them to debate his medical condition. He was allowing them to decide where to go, what to do. Prabhupada is independent, he can decide. But still, he want to exchange the relationship so that his disciple can be trained. And Prabhupada, he's told Tamal Krishna Maharaj like that. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj felt, even though, he's not such an exalted position to bless his spiritual master, is kind of, he felt more confident in encouraging for him to do more seva and things like that. So Prabhupada was asking, he was instigating the relationship. Please openly, you encourage me to stay, allow me to stay like that. And he's become dependent like a child. They need to do all the basic activity necessity of Srila Prabhupada, including bathing him, taking care of his, dressing him and things like that. So Prabhupada is deliberately arranging this and following, so that he says all this seva one do to pure devotees, they'll attain love of Godhead. So Prabhupada is basically teaching them, giving them opportunity. It is not that Prabhupada wanted it. So Prabhupada giving them opportunity so that they can do the intimate exchange, a loving relationship, so that they can go back to Godhead. So that was Prabhupada's intention, engaging them, asking them to discuss my health condition, which doctor I should see. Everything he leaves in the hands of the disciple to decide whether he should stay for opening of the temple or go to Vrindavan. Everything he was just asking his disciple to do it. So this amazing exchange Srila Prabhupada is doing it. So Prabhupada was teaching his disciples actually until last stage how they should prepare their own inevitable, showing step by step, just by chanting, absorbing in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada didn't want any official servant or just person's sake of doing service. You want to bring them to this spontaneous loving of devotional service, spontaneous love. So Prabhupada was checking how they were determined to do midnight, helping him, Srila Prabhupada, round the clock, helping him his bodily functions and things like that. So that's the reason even the disciples sometime, we can't argue against the desire of Srila Prabhupada. And here you can see in this episode, devotees started discussing what is best for Prabhupada. Even though Prabhupada said, consult the doctor. Generally, if Guru Maharaj or somebody says, senior disciple, get me the doctor, we immediately call him. Somehow or other, he's not coming also, we'll pull him and drag him here. But His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, on the contrary, thought through what is good for Srila Prabhupada at the time. And he told Prabhupada that doctor, may not be required for now, because you need more of rest in Vrindavan, some Ayurvedic treatment than any allopathy. So Prabhupada knew that was, he wanted it, but still, then he accepted it. So here some might think, oh, how somebody can think about his guru's will against his will. So this loving exchange is nothing but it allows them to think spontaneously on the love of God, rather than just officially say, okay, Prabhupada, let me do it. So they were loving so much that, they want to participate, and Prabhupada allowed them to discuss what should be done. So actually Prabhupada should have dictated, saying that, this is what I want to do, this is what my condition is. And but Prabhupada allowed them to exchange this loving exchange. So that's what we will see more detail in this one. But Prabhupada is ultimately, he never changed framing authority. It does not mean that he accepted everything they said. When it came to a conclusion, or he want to put something, then he would strongly, firmly say that this is my final decision. And devotees would immediately follow as the final thing. And that's the final word, emerging as the absolute authority of his disciple. It was only to serve his will that his disciple loved and acted. Srila Prabhupada said that his disciple determination and complete surrender, and the desire and praise for him to remain with them, for him to fight and stay. This was all that was still keeping him on the world. So this is the loving exchange, how they're discussing Srila Prabhupada, how to take care of him, the determination to preach, distribute books, just because that Prabhupada was keep going, otherwise he want to retire to Vrindavan. So this still we see that Srila Prabhupada remained the ultimate authority when the final decision needs to be taken. And so actually, if you see that this massage and all, it was not helping for Prabhupada, because he's already bone, and skin. There is nothing that they can rejuvenate. So it's just that, he allowed his disciple to do some seva, so that he can be encouraged. And so whatever condition Prabhupada, there are 4 things Prabhupada maintained it. So it is Maharaj writing here, Satswarup Maharaj. One is aggressive in preaching Krishna consciousness. It doesn't matter, he comes from the flight midnight, immediately calls Giriraj Maharaj or whoever it is. Then he asks for the report, GBC members, what is the preaching? So this is one Prabhupada, this is a great thing, is that constantly asking for the preaching report, how one is performing the preaching. So this is also very important. We also, as a authority to seniors, report our preaching, so that we also get enthusiastic, we are also accountable. And Prabhupada would encourage them what's happening. So he would be aggressive in preaching Krishna consciousness. He's second, thoughtful of others, what instruction to give, what is my final instruction, how to take care of the projects and things like that. He's always humorous and jovial, and is completely devoted to Krishna. So these are the 4 things extremely came out when Prabhupada, irrespective of wherever he was, whatever condition he was in. Then there is Abhiram Prabhu joined from England, and he saw Prabhupada quarters, and he said it's fit for Indra, it's very beautiful. So end of the session, we have time. Probably there is a 6-7 minutes video, YouTube video of Srila Prabhupada quarters in Bombay. Last time we saw in England manner. If time permits, I'll show that. And His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj taking a tour of this quarters. We will see that if time permits. Prabhupada broke into huge smile, and Prabhupada was joking that His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj went to take a quick nap and came back, and Prabhupada was teasing him, you like to sleep always, you took rest in the plane and still, you took rest and you are giving excuses like that. Prabhupada is always jovial and everything dealing with exchange of his devotees. So this is between September 13th and 14th stay in Bombay. It still continues. So Prabhupada occasionally, he never met any people. Prabhupada, he asked who he wants to meet anybody, then he named two people, Bogilal Patel or Mahadevia. Any of one of them comes, he can discuss. So actually they've been, Mahadevi have been summoned. He showed up, and so Prabhupada started getting up from his bed and started discussing about the politics. So he gave a brief dump of what's happening with the politics, current status in India. And Prabhupada gave a amazing analogy of the political parties, and he gave the analogy is that there is no party is better, one party is no better than the other. He gives the example of a stool, one side or other, what they can do. The party is like the stool, this other side or this side, both of them are stool. So Prabhupada is amazing, very graphic example. So, but what's happening is Prabhupada was so weak that he was not even able to go down to the temple hall. And he always asked them to send the picture of the darshan of the deities, and he would have darshan of the deities. And he told one photo frame to be kept in this bed of side, so that he always look at them loving exchange. So Prabhupada is always look at beautiful Radha Rasavayaraji photo. He would loving exchange with them. So, and Prabhupada continued this topic. The discussion was going on the politics. So Prabhupada saying, every living entity is suffering. Sorry, this was like, Prabhupada was dreaming. So now this is another lesson to be learned. What is going on Prabhupada mind? What do they dream, right? So this is one classic example of how Prabhupada was, what conscious he was there. So one day he woke up suddenly, and then His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was asking, what is that? And so on the awakening one morning, Prabhupada immediately began talking. So I'll read as it is. This is a very nice quote. Every living entity is suffering, from Brahma down to the ant. There is no happiness. And then he closed his eyes. Later awoke and said, Devi Shri Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya. Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada if he was thinking of these things while resting. He was asking Prabhupada, are you thinking about people, living entity suffering? And Prabhupada said, yes. Prabhupada replied, I was dreaming. So the divine energy of mind, consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Bhagavad-Gita 7:14. So the acharyas, they always compassionate. Prabhupada was always thinking how to deliver this fallen conditioned soul. That's the only reason, the compassionate, that's, we should be very gratitude to Prabhupada, because imagine, see, this condition is, health condition is like this. Bombay project is going on, other projects all over the world, so many things, but he was always thinking, constantly meditating in his dream how to deliver this fallen conditioned soul and this Mahamaya Dratya. It's very difficult to overcome the external energy. People are suffering. Look at this compassion. So this was going on in pure Acharya. This what would go on their mind. So then Brahmananda comes from England. So then he has a conversation with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was telling, all this ISKCON I built for you. I can't like you young, I can go around like young boy, I can do everything. Now I left it to you. You have to use it. I left behind them all these quarters and everything. So I am leaving them for your use. So then His Holiness Jayapatka Swami also arrived, because he want a signature and a statement, legal statement concerning that there was a recently attacked. ISKCON Mayapur was attacked by Gundas. Then then His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada is already written a will, saying that everything, whatever in his name is belong to ISKCON. Then Prabhupada written a will, and he said he doesn't do with any other management. So his disciple should take care of it, and he was completely away from the management. So that's a message was sent. So Prabhupada doesn't want to involve anymore on the temple management. The respective GBC should manage, and everything on Prabhupada's names belongs to ISKCON. So now Srila Prabhupada want to be allowed from that, and Prabhupada, what he was doing is that now the Acharya at the final days, what he did, I said one is the chanting beads he put around his neck, and always he was chanting. irrespective of whatever condition it is. Second, he was hearing the holy name, and third, first thing holy name. Second thing was Srimad Bhagavatam. He was like to be sit up in the bed, and the devotees would read constantly Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he would look at the with spectacles, the Radha Rasvegarji, beautiful, and the devotees will constantly read. They take a rotation and read Srila Prabhupada books. And Prabhupada said, "This is the medicine he desired. He didn't want anything else." Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting what he wanted to do. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj suggested that these readings go on each day. Srila Prabhupada said, "This is the most important thing. Read as much as possible." So this is another very important instruction. Read Srimad Bhagavatam as much as possible. That is the only medicine for this material body and the soul, so that we can go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada was not just telling him, he knew everything. He wrote the book, still he would constantly read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the devotees. So one time what happened is Shri Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Brahmananda Maharaj, they sat together with Prabhupada. They were recollecting how the Bombay project was there, how Prabhupada gave a big fight, how he tolerated so many obstacles. And Prabhupada suddenly remembered, he said the dog. They didn't know what Prabhupada was referring. Then Prabhupada said, when Mr. Seth, Prabhupada used to stay in their house and he used to go for these cases and things like that. So he would have a big dog, German Shepherd, and it is quite big. And Prabhupada has to sit next to that will sit in the Prabhupada seat next to him, big dog, and Prabhupada has to sit. He was very uncomfortable, but still Prabhupada tolerated all this thing. And Prabhupada was recollecting, and His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, he talked about entire preaching, Radha Rasvigarji, how it happened and how Prabhupada struggled. Now we are going to open the temple. And he made this statement, all glories to Krishna soldier. So this is the title of the topic, which Maharaj said. So this same has been kept as a title of the topic for this episode. And let's move on. So further, now we have more interesting thing to come. Please listen another 3 or 4 slides. Now what is happening is Prabhupada contemplating early Vrindavan trip, because he said 5 weeks. What if he doesn't stay that long before opening of the temple? Then he said he called for GBC. For what? He called Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Brahmananda, Surabhi, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Arisori Prabhu, Giriraj Maharaj, Upendra, Abhirama, and Taladri. So all of them, they came. He called the entire GBC. He said, now you discuss. Now what should I do? Should I go to Vrindavan or should I stay in the Bombay? So everybody gave their opinion, and Prabhupada, how he dealt this matter, it is amazing. His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, I am in favor of going to Vrindavan. Because Bombay, even though Prabhupada stays in Bombay, number one, he can't attend any function. Previously, Prabhupada used to give amazing lectures, and Prabhupada known for his powerful preaching. Now people won't be able to take it in this condition. Saying Prabhupada in this condition, Bombay, people may not accept it. So it's better that Prabhupada goes, stays in Vrindavan, and comes back for opening function. So, and Brahmananda Swami also in favor of going to Vrindavan. And Harisuri spoke and he says, saying that Prabhupada, it is depends on whether really your health is deteriorating, you want to go to Vrindavan to recoup, or it is just that you want to opening for the temple, based on that we can decide. And Prabhupada said, yes, it's for health reason, I want to go to Vrindavan. Then Harisuri said in favor of Prabhupada going to Vrindavan. And then His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he said, he put argument in favor of staying in Bombay, because he said so many arrangements have been made and the temple is going to open and it will give enthusiasm to a lot of devotees. Guests are invited, at least it would help them. He stays in Bombay, then the project would complete, otherwise it will delay further. And Surabhi Prabhu is also in the same opinion of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Like that, there are different GBC member putting argument against and for, and Giriraj Maharaj in favor of Vrindavan, because he felt Prabhupada is undergoing such a noise. Every day there is so much noise is happening. Probably peaceful atmosphere will help Prabhupada to recoup, and Abhirama too supported. Upendra Prabhu was not sure. So like that. So Prabhupada was asking majority of the people's vote, And then finally they all sounded like most of them wanted Prabhupada to go to Vrindavan. So they all decided Prabhupada would go to Vrindavan. So then they want to discuss the next topics, that what kind of treatment. So Prabhupada wanted to discuss the best course of treatment. His friend Dr. Ghosh had written recently that Prabhupada asked His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj to read the letter. So Maharaj is reading the letter of the doctor, Dr. Ghosh. Tamal Krishna Maharaj then read aloud. Dr. Ghosh advised that Prabhupada should go to a good hospital for a thorough checkup and treatment, almost with the attitude of an impartial judge asking for a discussion. Srila Prabhupada said, so what is wrong with this proposal? He was telling, okay, let me go to admit to the hospital. Then my Dr. Ghosh friend is telling, I should get admitted in the hospital. So he asking, open up the another discussion. First discussion was whether he should go to Vrindavan or stay in Bombay. Most of them voted that Prabhupada should go to Vrindavan. The next one is about his health. He's asking GBC to take a decision whether he should get hospitalized or he should continue. So Prabhupada want to hear. This is the loving exchange Prabhupada is engaging them. This is not ordinary topics, because a pure Vaishnava, anything related to pure Vaishnava, Bhagavan, Bhakta, this is all transcendental. So we should be very careful against committing any offenses, even mentally. So then Prabhupada, but somebody said Prabhupada, then Prabhupada, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, if you're going to means hospital, means they'll put all the artificial feeding, and they will intravenous feedings and all will happen like that. And Prabhupada said, what is the artificial use of feeding? They said there is no digestion in the system. So then Tamal Krishna Maharaj made a remark, even though Ayurvedic is a perfect, but now there are no perfect doctors are there. Whereas on the other hand, allopathic, it is not a perfect system, but there are a lot of maturity happen in the medical science. There are a lot of doctors scientifically treat you. So Prabhupada said, better you get admitted. Then Prabhupada, but Upendra Prabhu said, no, Prabhupada will not come to hospital, because Prabhupada hates going to the hospital. Maybe the doctors can come in and they can see. And Abhirama Prabhu also strong in not Prabhupada favor of going to the hospital. Then Prabhupada said, I don't want to go to the hospital, because he was quoting two examples. One is his god brother Tirtha Maharaj. He undergone 3 treatments, but he ended up in dying. But even though they given a very scientific treatment and he was taken care perfectly, but he died perfectly. He died, so that Prabhupada said that what is the use? And second, he said, my Guru Maharaj, he never likes to go to the hospital. And I also feel the same way, that what is the use of depending on the material scientist, whereas I can feel dependent on Krishna. So this is a wonderful statement of Srila Prabhupada. I will read. Going to hospital means giving in the mercy of the material scientist. Whatever they like, they will do. They can't guarantee, and we can't be confident. And going to Vrindavana, Prabhupada is comparing with Vrindavan. Whatever may happen, let Krishna do it. Hospital is a chance technique. Going to Vrindavana, I have no objection. But now there is a dilemma. I am neither dying nor living. So this was the Prabhupada statement. And Prabhupada finally concluded that he wouldn't go to the hospital, and rather he would prefer go to the Vrindavan. Then immediately Vrindavan, there is a famous Kaviraj, his friend Prabhupada, the Ayurvedic doctor was there. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked, should we arrange for that doctor? He said, doesn't matter, better or worse, some husband must be there, some doctor must be there, so that they can treat it. It's not the question of now is a better doctor or not, but I need some treatment. So like that. So then again, Tamal Krishna Maharaj offered another argument, saying, Prabhupada, why you want to go to Vrindavan? Why don't you stay here? So I'm worried that you want to go Vrindavans, you might die there. You want to go for dying, but I want you to see the temple opening like that. Prabhupada said it's just sentiment. I want to go to Vrindavan, recoup myself, and come back. Prabhupada sounded so convincing, so there was no alternative. So he was taken to, planning was made to Vrindavan. Prabhupada said, let's go Vrindavan. So everybody said, and then there was a problem now. When Prabhupada, that is condition, goes to Vrindavan, what will happen? Entire GBC, what will happen to the devotees? Everybody will go, obviously, because it's the final moments of Srila Prabhupada. They want to be with him. They never knew when the Prabhupada would pass away. So then everybody will go. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, what will happen to the project? Most of the GBC members would come with you. Then Prabhupada said, let them come. All the devotees would come. Let them come. I don't have an issue. I have no objection. But Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna Maharaj said that thousands of devotees might come to be with Prabhupada. That would slow down the ISKCON work all over the world, not only Bombay project, all over the world. Prabhupada again said he had no objection. Tamal Krishna asked whether it was compulsory for GBC member to come, and Prabhupada said yes, all of them come. So there were no more questions, and the devotees excused themselves and they started packing their bags to go to prepare to Vrindavan. And there is so some devotees felt, what is this Prabhupada allowing them to discuss and even take a decision on his health condition and things like that? Somebody is putting argument against Srila Prabhupada's will. And she said, Prabhupada, it seemed that, okay, this is a very interesting conversation. With this, I would complete it, and we'll show a 5-10 minutes of video of Srila Prabhupada Bombay room. Then I'll open up for question. I just read this because this is very important. I'll just read this 3 or 4 paragraphs, then we will wind up. Okay. Okay, only Kaladri remained in the room with Srila Prabhupada. So Kaladri asked Srila Prabhupada, what do you think? Kaladri had been disturbed by the fact that some of the devotees had seemed to be opposing Prabhupada's desire and even arguing against him. So this is the dilemma, right? Most of us, how do we go against Guru Maharaj or senior pure devotees' desire? Why did they even arguing? They just need to execute it. But Srila Prabhupada, he said, I don't really understand. How can they give you advice like that? I feel like an intruder. I shouldn't even be here. But it seems to me that you are waiting for Krishna's to make some decision and whatever, whether you stay or go. Srila Prabhupada asked, what? It seems you are awaiting for Krishna's decision, said Kaladri. If you are going to wait for Krishna's decision, that might as well be in Vrindavan. Prabhupada smiled and closed his eyes. Yes, he said, that is very good advice. So Prabhupada was taking their disciples' advice, engaging them to debate, but finally taking the decision. So like this, engage them in the loving devotional service, Srila Prabhupada. Then he goes to Vrindavan. Before opening of the temple, he comes back, Srila Prabhupada. So that's the end for today. But let me share the video clip of Srila Prabhupada room. We will have a visit, and probably we'll have a quick chat about any reflection on this. Volume, if it is comes, okay.
So this room was kept as a waiting room for people to sit in before they went to see Srila Prabhupada. Of course, now since Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, we're keeping these rooms as a memorial tribute to his divine grace. Then this is a Bhagavad-Gita that Srila Prabhupada used when he was living in Vrindavan. It's published by the Gita Press, and it's in Hindi. But actually there have been so many editions of the Bhagavad-Gita, but in almost every case, the translator or commentator has inserted his own ideas in the name of Bhagavad-Gita. And thus the public in general has been deprived of the actual knowledge of the Gita as Krishna originally spoke it. So Srila Prabhupada studied this book and he made many notes in the margin. pointing out the different discrepancies in the translation. And then, of course, ultimately, he made his own edition of Bhagavad-Gita called Bhagavad-Gita as It Is, which is now being published and distributed throughout the world. So these are Srila Prabhupada's personal quarters. Right here is the table where Srila Prabhupada used to sit and translate. Srila Prabhupada commented that when he was living in Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami personally requested him to write these books. So many times Srila Prabhupada would stay up the whole night at this table writing his translation of Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now you can see that actually these books have been published in more than 26 languages of the world. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad-Gita, Ishopanishad, Krishna, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Altogether, Srila Prabhupada wrote more than 80 books in a brief span of 12 years. So this is where Srila Prabhupada used to sit to meet people. He was actually a living example of the ideal person as described in the Vedic literatures. Therefore it is said that one should read the book Bhagavat and serve the person Bhagavat. So Srila Prabhupada used to sit at that table and write the book Bhagavat, and here he would give his association as the person Bhagavat to the conditioned souls desiring to go back to Godhead. Then this is the table where Srila Prabhupada used to take prasad. Srila Prabhupada once commented that when he was living in Vrindavan at the Radha Damodar temple, he had one small room that was about 8 feet by 12 feet. And in one corner he used to translate, in another corner he used to sit, in another corner he used to take prasad. So Srila Prabhupada commented that his quarters here are just like his quarters in Vrindavan, because in one corner he's translating, in another corner he's sitting, and in another corner he's taking prasad. So actually Srila Prabhupada was always very plain and simple. So although to our capacity we were able to offer him a more elaborate arrangement here in Bombay, but his life was the same, translating, speaking about Krishna, and taking Krishna prasad.
That's really something. Who designed it? This was designed by one of Srila Prabhupada's Dutch disciples, Suravi Swami, who is also a very well-known architect. Srila Prabhupada gave him the guidelines as to what he wanted, and Suravi then drew the plans, which were again modified and revised and directed by Srila Prabhupada. It has a very beautiful temple. The Radha Rasbihari deities preside over there, with deities of Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and an altar with deities of Gaurachandra, that's Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. They're very beautiful dioramas inside the temple on the side and in the courtyard, which depict the Krishna conscious philosophy. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Ji had desired that these dioramas be used to depict the Krishna conscious philosophy. So these dioramas are very popular. Then there are 2 towers which have about 60 rooms in them, and these rooms are being used for our life members around the world and other well-wishers of the society and those who may want to understand about Vedic way of life. The Bombay project also has a very nice restaurant, in which we serve pure Krishna Prasad. Prasad is defined as foodstuff that is offered to God, and by the eating of which the living entity improves his intelligence. But this restaurant is very, very popular. People from all over Bombay come to eat over there.
And I understand you also have a theater there.
Yeah, we have a 400-seat theater called the Bhakti Kala Kshetra, which is known as the Center of Performing Arts. In the center, that's in the auditorium, we perform drama.
Okay, that's all I had for today. Thank you so much, and please any reflection or correction comments.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Like you have given like many wonderful narrations, and there are a lot of lessons. We can open up stage for the others to comment and realization. So some of the things that I like take away from me was how Srila Prabhupada used to encourage his disciples' opinions. Like everybody has different opinions. Still, like they used to take the decision in the sense that like diversity and inclusion in the other way, which we call now. And also like how even when his health was not good, so that sizzling plus hammering sound like very disturbing. Now we see that like even if we give the great comfort, still like old age people complain a lot. But how Prabhupada even in that bad health condition, so he was thinking that is the music because that is being done for Krishna. A lot of wonderful points, Prabhuji. Others also can add, please. Lines are already unmuted. And also how always the real Prabhupada like was eagerly, very eager to hear about the Krishna consciousness, like preaching about Krishna, and how thoughtful of others, many things, Prabhuji. And even in that condition, he was thinking of how to deliver the fallen souls. So I think that is because of that only I think we are here in discussing now.
Yes, amazing, Prabhupada. How this is a glimpse of what goes through in the Acharya's mind, how to deliver fallen conditions all the time.
Yes, Prabhupada. And also always depending on the like reading the Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting is the medicine for Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Just yesterday, we had the class on Canto, first chapter we were reading about that, how Vasudeva manages Kamsa, in that he says, everything's managed by providence. In that, they were telling, you have to do your duty and discharge it well and focus, and you are just an instrument to discharging your duty, he says. And then he said you have to take care of your body also at that time. If you don't take care, it is like a suicide. See how nicely Prabhupada has done it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for the nice narration of this chapter.
Thank you, Mataji.
Any other devotees?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Ravilochan Prabhu.
Thank you for the wonderful narration. In fact, you covered very in depth of the mood of Prabhupada. But I felt, in this particular aspect, Prabhupada also was trying to, empower GBC to take various decisions, and he wanted to see how they would do, because he's like a perfect leader. Acharya is seeing ahead. He was willing to subordinate himself to them and decide, let's see what they are doing. It's a very nice thing which is coming out in that. And those, and how personalized he was with them. How he was allowing them to decide for him though he was clear what he wanted to do. So, I mean, that is really coming out so nice. And he was very clear of what he wanted to be as well. He knew that he wanted to be in Vrindavana. For him, it doesn't matter whether it is Bombay or London or wherever it is. But he's trying to, like when you said that, like Prabhupada was saying that I'm not disturbed by those hammering and other things happening. He was very happy. It was transcendental for him because he wanted the Mumbai temple to actually get it should just appear and manifest completely. It's really totally amazing. Prabhupada is, obviously he's the Acharya, obviously. So it really shares the mood of Prabhupada, and he's also telling how we should all be in that way. How in what mood we should be, how much absorbed we should be in that particular, in that situation as we are, nearing the stage of leaving our body. In what mood? In what mood we should ideally be. In general, people will say, I'm having a pain here, I'm having this doctor, I have to go here, I have to see that. He's not at all worried. All he's just trying to put his, he just want to get absorbed and, leave it to Krishna. Mercy of Krishna was like amazing. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandadas Pranam.
All glories to Prabhuji, very nice.
All
Excellent.
glories to you. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, I want to share one how Prabhupada is glorious. When I went last time, Tirumala, Tirupati, they are constructing many bridges in Tirupati.
Okay.
So they put one signboard. Today, inconvenience is for better tomorrow.
Okay.
So Prabhupada was facing a challenge for him every day. He was facing so many inconveniences for give us better tomorrow for us.
Yeah.
So you can see the Bombay, how much challenge he was facing. So preacher means challenge. He has to face many challenges in his teaching mission, in his life. So in Prabhupada said, no pain means no gain. We have to take pain. We have to preach to the people. Then only we can fulfill Prabhupada's mission. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Even people ready to go to Pakistan and other places, Muslim-speaking countries. And Prabhupada, that's why he said, I'll take the dust from those preachers.
Even when I was in Bahrain, we used to go to the restaurant. Those are local Bahrainis. Even we distributed Bhagavad-Gita to them, actually. And even for the Sheikh, we distribute Bhagavad-Gita book. Those are very... even Bahrain library, we distributed Bhagavad-Gita book. That's because of Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj mercy of them, actually. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you so much. Okay.
And one more thing that we saw, never heard was Prabhupada was never complaining about his health. Like, even though, like, in general, we say, okay, we are doing so much, and then still I'm put into difficulties. But there was no any mention of, like, Prabhupada saying, like, I have done so much, still why am I undergoing this bad health, this kind of things. There was not even a complaint, right, Prabhuji? Prem Priya Mataji mentioned that, thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful narration and presentation. As Srila Prabhupada fully depended on Srimad Bhagavatam as the only medicine for all kind of diseases and did not want to go to hospital is really wonderful. Shows his faith on Lord. But for me, it's difficult as my faith is not so strong. Prem Priya Radhika Mataji mentioned.
We can't imitate Srila Prabhupada, but we can follow the Acharyas. There is we inspire them, we follow the Acharyas, but we need to be practical as well. We can't take a stand as Prabhupada, I will not go to hospital. But yes, we need to strike a balance and take inspiration from Srila Prabhupada. Even in hospital, I will be Krishna conscious, chanting more, reading Bhagavatam, taking the devotees association. That should be the mood. So we can't just imitate Prabhupada saying, I will not go to hospital. Don't ever do that. That's not practical.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams Prabhuji.
Then does Pranam Mataji.
Thank you very much for the wonderful narration. Prabhuji, Prabhuji, I have a doubt. I don't know if I am correct in expressing it. Since in Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is the intelligent of the intelligent, can't we take this allopathic method also as a part of Krishna's intelligence, Prabhuji?
Yeah, that's why I said don't imitate Srila Prabhupada because there are pure Vaishnavas. We need to be practical as much as possible. If it's a simple thing, you can take Ayurvedic. If it's a really problem, like somebody is fell sick, like Corona, somebody fell down, broken his thing, we need to be definitely depend on allopathic. But the mood on which what Prabhupada, that mood we need to observe. The point is that we should, the homeopathy, allopathy, or whatever pati, to take Saranagati of the ultimate pati Krishna. So we need to be more chanting here in Bhagavata. Be Krishna conscious, irrespective of whatever condition you are in, which hospital or whatever treatment we have to take. So that's the mood we need to imbibe. But practically imbibing, trying to imitate Srila Prabhupada, that's not practical.
Thank you.
Maybe somebody can else comment, another senior Vaishnavas. Sankarshan Priya Prabhu, you want to comment something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. I'm also sharing a video, very rare videos that we are very fortunate to see. So regarding this, I've heard that whatever one is following from the beginning, whichever medicine, treatments, that Prabhupada has said that if one is used to allopathic, then you continue that, and whether if it's Ayurveda, it's Ayurveda. So I think, as you said, practically we should, ultimately we should keep the body fit, isn't it?
Yes.
The body and the mind together, so that we can do our duties and do services. So I think we should take the practical aspect of it. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Because that time even Tamal Krishna Maharaj is telling you Ayurveda is good, but there are no doctors. Sometimes you may not get access to those doctors who are really good. There are few of them are there. We need to be practical. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, if there are no
Yes, please continue.
no, if there are no other comments, we can pray Vaishnava pranams.
Yes, please. One shakal
Patrubhasya Kripasindhavaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavya.
Vaishnava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful narration, and thanks all devotees for your active hearing and